Hi, hope you're well. Thanks for clicking on this video. You're in for a real treat. So we're gonna together in this video go through an earth flow, which is a really nice, short and simple flow of movements, which is particularly good if you want to get the sense of having done a flow class but maybe don't have the energy to do a whole load of Sun Salutations or don't have the time to invest in a whole kind of hour-long vinyasa class or something. So I really love the earth flow. It's a repetition of a few movements linked together, all staying really close to the ground, and it gives us a chance to find that sense of fluidity in the body and non-linear kind of movement, which I'm always a fan of. Something that you might like during this class, just to make it a little bit more comfortable, is a blanket to go underneath your knees if you know that you have any knee sensitivity. Okay, so I'm going to come onto the mat or just the ground, whatever you're practicing on. If you want your blanket, then just place it underneath your knees. And we're going to start the flow from a child's pose. So you can take your knees out as wide as you want to here to give your torso space to come down towards the ground. And you might find as well that if you get your head towards the ground, your hips rise up away from your heels, and that's absolutely fine. You can always put another blanket in between your heels and your hips, or even a cushion if you want something that gives a little bit more height as well. So find whatever feels good and right for your hips, and then making your way down to a child's pose with the head coming towards the floor. And just take a few moments in child's pose to find a steady, comfortable breath. Maybe just wiggling your hips from side to side, rocking through the pelvis, reaching the fingertips towards the top of the mat so that you get that nice sense of a stretch across the lower, middle and upper back. And then coming into stillness, take a few deep breaths, feeling the belly expand and press against your thighs, and then feeling the abdomen soften and the whole body release a little bit as you exhale. Okay, with your next inhale, you're going to start to drag your hands towards your knees, rolling your spine, bringing yourself all the way up onto your knees and lifting your arms up in the air as you go. And then exhaling, we're going to bow and float the arms and the chest all the way back down to the ground to child's pose. Inhaling, wave your spine forward so that you come into a cat pose with the back arc rounded. And then lifting the chest, lifting the sit bones in cow, pushing the hips back towards your heels and bringing the head back down to the ground. Repeat that one more time. Inhale, start to drag your hands back towards your knees, press down through your shins and lift your hips up. Standing on the knees, lift the arms. And then exhaling long, bringing the hands all the way back down to the ground with the forehead, the chest. Inhale, round your spine up, lift your hips away from your heels, coming into cat pose. And then exhaling, lift the chest, the gaze and the sit bones, and draw the hips back towards the heels. Let's take a couple of breaths now in a pause in child's pose. And then we're going to repeat these basic movements, but add on a few new things each time. So take one more breath in and breath out. Inhaling, pressing through your shins, lifting your arms, lifting all the way up, gazing up. Exhaling all the way out as you float your arms, chest back down to the ground. Inhaling, waving up into cat pose with the spine rounded, shoulders come over wrists. And then tilting the sit bones up towards the sky, tuck your toes and then press the knees up and away from the ground as you extend through the legs and come into a downward facing dog. We'll spend a couple of moments just feeling into downward facing dog, spreading your fingers nice and wide on the ground, making sure the weight is in the heel of the hands and the finger pads. Feel free to bend your legs. You can bend one knee and then the other, as if you were walking a walking dog. And when you come into stillness, feel free to keep the knees bent, tilting the sit bones up towards the sky and pressing the chest through the arms. Inhale and then exhale to bring the knees back down to the ground and find your child's pose. Take a couple of breaths there and then we'll repeat that sequence. Finding your next inhale and letting it lift you all the way up, coming into that reach up towards the sky. Exhale as you float your hands, your chest, everything back down to the ground. Inhaling, rounding the spine up like a wave towards the shoulders. Exhaling, finding that tilt of the sit bones, lift the chest and then press down into the toes, lift your knees away from the ground, downward dog. Inhale here and then exhale, bring the knees back down to the ground. Bring yourself into child's pose, take a breath in and exhale. We'll go again. Inhaling, lifting up, reaching up with the arms. Open the chest slightly here, maybe a little back bend. Exhale, float all the way down. Hands gently touch the ground. Inhaling, waving the spine up, rounded towards the sky. Exhaling, as you tuck the toes, press the hips up and back to downward facing dog. Inhale here. And then exhale, bring the knees down and sit yourself back into child's pose. Take a deep, soothing inhale. And then opening the mouth to sigh the breath out. Inhale, lifting up, reaching, let the arms float up in front of you. Exhale, bringing the arms down. And start to let your movement be guided by the breath. So the inhale begins and then you round up into cat pose. The exhale begins and then that's what sends your sit bones up and your hips up towards downward dog. Inhale as you are, and then exhale, the knees just want to drop back down to the earth, the head, the chest follow. Take a few breaths now, just refinding that steady, deep breath. And then we'll carry on into a couple more rounds with some additions. One last inhale and then exhale. Inhaling, lifting up. Let the spine unfurl, stacking it side yourself on top of each vertebra. Maybe a little back bend, opening the arms. Exhale finds the bow. Pressing through the shins, rounding the spine up towards the ceiling. And it's the exhale that finds the press up and back to downward facing dog. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, bend the knees and start to wave the spine forwards, bringing the shoulders over the wrists. Exhale as you drop the hips, drop the knees, lift the chest into upward facing dog. And then pressing back, coming into child's pose. We'll do that another couple of times, so don't worry if you didn't quite follow, just let your body move through these familiar shapes now a few more times. Inhaling, lifting up. Exhaling, bowing down towards the earth. Inhaling, rounding the spine up into cat. Exhale, tuck the toes, glide the sit bones up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, bend the knees and round the spine, waving forwards. Exhale as the shoulders come over the wrists, drop the hips down towards the ground. And then inhale, lift the chest, upward facing dog. Exhale, push through your hands to send your hips back, all the way to child's pose. One more time. Inhaling, waving up, lifting the chest, reaching towards the sky. Exhaling, bowing back down, coming back down to the ground. Inhaling, rounding the spine up like a wave. Exhale, press yourself up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, press from the feet to find that wave forwards into plank. And then exhale, dropping the hips. Lift the chest on your inhale. And exhale, press yourself all the way back into child's pose. And this time you can remove the blanket from underneath you. You can bring your hands underneath your forehead, or maybe bringing the hands, the arms by your side in child's pose, just to make it a little bit more restorative. An option that I like to take is elbows on the ground and then a prayer to the back of the head. Wherever you are now, take a few deep, soothing breaths, refinding your sense of gravity, connection to the ground. So, because this is such a repetitive and circular flow, it's one that you can take a number of times, building it up progressively. So beginning with the most simple version and then adding on the downward dog, keep going like that, and then adding on the wave into plank and upward facing dog. So feel free to watch the tutorial a few times and then just let your body take over. Finding a quiet breath now. And I'm going to end by just reading you a short passage from one of the sonnets to Orpheus by Rainer Maria Rilke. You have been chosen. You are sound and whole. You are like the very first beat of the heart. You are the bow that shoots the arrows, and also their target. In tears, your smile would glow forever. Do not be afraid to suffer. Give the heaviness back to the weight of the earth. Mountains are heavy. Seas are heavy. Even those trees you planted as children became too heavy long ago. You couldn't carry them now. But you can carry the winds and the open spaces. Take a deep breath in and then let it go. I really hope you enjoyed that earth flow. Have a beautiful day, whatever the rest of the day holds for you.